The next morning was the official start of the training of these future mages, but there were no scheduled classes. Instead, everyone woke up to announcements that they should wait in their rooms for the teacher in charge of their group to come inform them of their new routine. That sounded like a much more relaxed class atmosphere than any school he had heard of before, and Karl became a little more jealous of the elite lifestyle. Perhaps he would even get lucky and have a kind and gentle teacher who didn't shout at students for wrong answers, or believe that laps around the school were the cure for inattention. At breakfast, he gathered another roasted chicken for his pet hawk, along with the collection of raw meat, but the beast's consumption had temporarily slowed as the bird had grown overnight. As they grew to maturity, most of them would perfect the knowledge of the rend skill, allowing them to take down much larger prey with a single strike. That might not sound too impressive, given that the full-grown bird only weighed a few kilograms, but when the proficiency reached a high enough level, a monster could actually ambush and kill monsters a rank above its own, using the power of the mastered skill. It was well after noon before the teacher showed up to talk to him, and Karl was getting bored with just standing around in the garden and waiting. He had practiced his rend skill until he wore himself out, trying to improve his accuracy and activation speed, and then had a short nap, but he wasn't really sure where to go from here, and none of the information in the bag of textbooks he had received told him anything on that topic. The sharp knock at the door woke him up, and Karl rushed over to open the door for the sharp-featured female soldier that was waiting outside.
Good afternoon, Karl. I am your combat skills professor. You may call me Sergeant Rita. In addition to teaching you martial arts and essential skills for the elites, I will be your personal guidance professor. The Academy has determined that your class is too different from the other warriors for the standard class schedule to be useful outside the daily battle training courses. So, we will be working together for the time being. Did you have the space here to take lessons, or would you like to move to a classroom?
He had almost gotten his wish. Rita certainly wasn't ugly, but her nature was about as far from kind and gentle as was possible, and laps around the academy didn't seem like they would be outside her list of preferred teaching methods.
There is a spot on the patio that should be suitable. Please, come in, Sergeant.
Sergeant Rita followed him into the unit, then onto the balcony with an intrigued look. But it was not the number of plants that shocked her.
Are these all freshly watered?
She asked.
There was a watering guide included with the room. Most only need it once a week, and I didn't know when they were watered last, so I did it the day that I moved in. They seemed fairly dry, but everything is still in good condition.
Karl replied with a shrug as he walked to the gazebo.
This is a nice unit. Very outdoorsy. I'm not sure if it will rain on the patio with the magic that's in effect, but other than that, you lucked out. Now, I need to know everything that you know about your powers so that we can start a proper training plan. How are the physical improvements? How has the power of your skill adjusted with a single day's practice? And are there any other hints as to what you can do with it? I won't lie to you. The classes that can send a golem or magical construct into battle for them are in much higher demand than any of the others, except the mages who can use unique spells. But with a ranged attack from the start, you're not in a terrible spot.
The sergeant informed him very sincerely. Her honesty startled Karl, and it felt like she genuinely had his best interest in mind as a guidance counselor. Hiding too many things from her wouldn't do him any good, so Karl decided that it would be best to just put everything out in the open for her to understand. Maybe she would know how to help him and Hawk grow. Karl focused and brought out Hawk from his beast-taming space.
We should start here. This is Hawk, and my skill awakened him from an egg in the kitchen. It allows him to live somewhat comfortably in a space inside my mind, and our thoughts are linked.
Sergeant Rita stared at the tiny bird for a few seconds, trying to process the information that she had received.
So, Your ability lets you contract with monsters and what? Use their abilities? Well, I guess that's true. But we both know what the other is thinking, so with a bit of training, I shouldn't have to fight alone. I'll have Hawk with me, Karl offered.
Sergeant Rita smiled.
How about we see if we can't find you another beast cub? If you can get something that's a better fighter than the Windspeed Hawk, you might have a real chance to become one of the more powerful elites.
Hawk squawked in indignation at the suggestion that he would be replaced right after being born.
Does this woman have no shame, looking down on the Windspeed Hawk? Fully grown, I am sure that I can make it to the commander rank, and she's just an ascendant warrior. Give it a month, and I'll bet I could beat her up.
Hawk's mental communication was accompanied by audible screeching when he was outside like this, and the sergeant smirked at the irate fledgling.
What is he saying?
She asked.
He says that when he grows up, he will be a commander, and you'll still be ascendant.
Karl gave her the abridged version.
So, it really is intelligent enough for coherent thought at that stage. Interesting. I know it's the first day, but we should go to the training grounds to see what you two can do when working together,
the sergeant remarked. Sergeant Rita led Karl down to the main floor and out across the grounds to a large open coliseum.
This will be our venue for the day. You'll love it, at least when it's empty. With nobody here, you can send your hawk as far out as you want, and we can spar with the training gear. Call out your bird. You two can make the first move,
Sergeant Rita suggested as they walked to the middle of the battlefield.
Hawk, fly up high and attack from the side. She will be expecting you to go behind her,
Karl instructed as he checked his gauntlets and drew his sword. As soon as he released it from the mental space, the hawk flew up 50 meters in the air and began to circle, waiting for its master to be ready.
Go,
Karl instructed as he slashed forward with the blade, activating Rend halfway through to create a small arc of power that Rita blocked with ease using one of the two daggers that had appeared in her hands. Then she dodged to the side as the attack from Hawk streaked towards her, and parried again as a flick of Karl's fingers sent more rending energy her way. He had no actual combat experience, but a sword was bigger than a dagger, so he sidestepped and swung his blade, which she easily parried. But while she was distracted, Hawk's next attack hit her in the back of the neck, leaving a bright red welt.
What do we do? Her neck doesn't break when I attack it,
Hawk asked in a panic.
Just keep attacking. She's stronger than us, but she is going to teach us how to fight.
Rita turned to keep them both in her line of sight as the bird continued to circle overhead, then launched a flurry of attacks that knocked Karl to the ground, just in time for her to block Hawk's attacks.
All right, I know where your weaknesses are now. The first thing that we need to train is your fighting skills. While the bird is equivalent to a repeated sneak attack, low output but incredibly difficult to dodge, you will have to face the wrath of your enemies until you can find a second pet or a group mate to take their attention.
That made a lot of sense. In a way, he was still a warrior class, just a pet warrior who could fight alongside a magical beast. Learning an entire combat system wasn't going to be easy, but at this point, his life literally depended on it after graduation. Even most of the music and television celebrities among the elite were known to go and fight to improve their strength or deal with attacks. They just did it with assistants and cameras following, so the world would know how awesome they were. Not like some bureaucrat or lawyer who got sent to an attack that didn't even make the news to fight alone against a rampaging monster.
All right, what do we start with? Sword fighting? Martial arts? Some sort of secret magical body training art?
He asked. Sergeant Rita laughed.
First, we start with basic physical conditioning. Your body is adjusting quickly to the mana injection, and it triggers an awakening in place of your natural growth. That's why we give the shots at the end of middle school, so that all the recipients are still in the rapid growth phase and can adapt more easily to the changes. As your body adjusts, you should be able to move from a common physique to an awakened physique fairly quickly. And then you will be able to actually fight at an acceptable pace, closer in speed to the movements of your hawk.
Wait, that's not the end. You've just had a free taste. Now get the full story on the Pocket FM app, link in description. Check out our next video and playlist, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.